like moving like wildfire. I mean, I moved out of state. I moved back to state. For y'all don't know, I'm back. Like I said, 5 years ago, I became a widow, and now I'm remarried to an awesome man. And things have been like moving like wildfire. I mean, I moved out of state. I moved back to state. For y'all don't know, I'm back in the D. Um, originally I moved to North Carolina. I was there for only 6 months. You never know where you're going to be and what you're going to be doing and those things. So in the process, I learned a lot after those 5 years after my husband passed away. I learned a lot. And the one thing that I did learn the most about is learning to accept people for who they are and meet them where they're at. I learned that because after living in a box, because that's what I did. I mean, because it was all about just me and my family, and that's it. I got out here after my husband died and realized that this is a cruel, cruel world. Maybe there was some thing that I was missing. I wasn't a big person on the news, so I didn't see a lot of stuff that way. But the more people I met, the more times I came into contact with people, I was sitting there like, who are these people and why do they act the way they act? Why do they treat you like they do? But this had been going on all along and while I was living in my box. So the lesson learned in meeting new people was you can't expect them to be like you. You can't expect that. You can't expect that people will be like you. You have to meet them where they're at, and you have to meet them where they're at and accept them for who they are. Now, should you not decide to join in and be in their presence at all times, that's up to you. But as long as you can accept them for who they are and meet them where they're at, this world will be a better place because we then will have respect for each other and how we think instead of consistently trying to change someone. And that's where I want to come in with what I was speaking of Sharita in the Testimony Tuesday. She spoke, I told her that I was going to post and go live, like I said, almost close to 2 months ago now, and tell this new journey, that I'm on. And it's really not new. It's been there all the time. But unfortunately, we weren't aware of I wasn't aware. And when I speak of aware, I wasn't awake. I wasn't conscious to the situations and things that were right there in front of me all along. And the reason I'm letting you know that you need to accept people for who they are and where they're at, you can disagree. You can ask them to understand you, but it'd be better if you ask them to understand you or overstand you. Because when you ask someone to understand you, you're asking them to come up under you in that understand and then that standing that you have. Should they overstand or understand, that means that they got it. And they got it, but they don't agree. You don't have to agree with anyone. So what I'm asking is, what I'm saying is that we just need to meet people where they're at, So in this journey, I came across, one day I was out on my patio and I was chilling. And I heard a word from God. God was clear as day. He told me, if you want to build relationships and you want to teach relationship, you want to be that coach that you are, you want to be a better coach than you are as it pertains to relationships, you need to have a relationship with me. So I immediately got on that to have an immediate relationship with God, because I thought if I do everything the way I apologize, somebody tried to call in. I thought that if I did everything the way it pertains to God and God's word and followed those things, that I would then be in position to do the things that I was put here to do. Now I'm trying to speak as I spoke at that time so that it doesn't contradict what I'm going to eventually say. Okay. So that was the thing. I mean, I got to read in the Bible. I got to study in the Word. I got to understanding. The Bible was clearer than it ever was for me. It was so clear. I had never read the Bible, and the clarity came through so clear with so much understanding, but then question. And then my question became this. And this is not to put churches, pastors, preachers, teachers on Front Street, but it came this. I've been in church all my life. And half the stuff that I was reading, I never understood it in that context. So being in church since I was 2 years old and coming up through Sunday school and sitting in the pews every Sunday and going to church on the church bus, you know, some of the people that's on here going to relate with what I'm saying, youth Sunday, youth service, youth study. As clear as this Bible was that day that I picked it up and decided to start reading, that right there told me that either I'm coming into an understanding that I never had before and an appreciation of things that I never had before. So as I'm reading this Bible, I mean, I go from, you know, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. You know, I end up, before I could get through the whole Bible, some things happened, took place, I should say. And when you seek, you shall find. Okay, so when you're seeking, you're going to find. I don't care. That right there is an ancient African proverb, okay? And it's written in the Bible that you seek and you shall find, and that is absolutely correct, okay? So, and I'm a living witness to that. I witnessed that from myself, you know. And so with that, I'm understanding that Adam and Eve, who they are, they were flesh. They were not, they didn't look like us. They didn't have skin, you know. But the deceiving matter is that I had, and it's just me. This is my experience. Remember this. When I'm speaking to this is my experience. You can agree, disagree, but just meet me where I'm at. Understand and keep it moving. Okay? I mean, I appreciate any comments, anything that you have to say about it. I'm beautiful with that, you know, because I understand that everybody doesn't walk in the same reality, okay? But as I'm reading and I'm realizing that, you know, I had this own picture in my mind, you know, picture is worth 1,000 words. So all those words I'm reading in the Bible today did not relate to the vision and the pictures that I had in my head that had been implanted into my head. So these things have been put into my head to vision that, you know, there was an Adam and an Eve. So there was a man and a woman, and there was this trees. And then it was like this serpent. I mean, this is what I'm like getting in my head. Like, that's what it's about. It's about, you know, that's what it looks like in my head. So I'm seeing physical people that look like me, that look like you, doing what God told them not to do, which is eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And they always stated that there was an apple. So that's what I envisioned. But when I'm reading, and I like to go into this and say that it's very clear. So you're reading this and you're realizing that as you're reading the Bible and you're reading the story of Adam and Eve, you're realizing that it wasn't an apple, because it doesn't say apple. But you see how a vision of what you've been told continues to manifest in your mind. So that's what you begin to believe. So I believed that it was an apple all my life. I'm 46 years old. I'm reading the Bible today and realize that it's not an apple, it's fruit. Okay, maybe I'm slow, maybe I'm late, and a lot of you might have known that already. I don't know. And I don't know why they use it as an apple, but actually an apple a day really does keep the doctor away. And so, I don't know. But to move on from that, I realized a lot of things, that when God, it stated that God clothed them because they realized that they were naked. He didn't clothe them with clothes like this. It wasn't clothing. But that's all you hear. So now you're envisioning God putting clothes on them, covering them with the picture that you have, fig leaves, covering the important parts, covering her breasts, covering the private parts, and that's what you see. So that's what you think the whole time that you have heard the stories. Now, many people don't pick up their Bible to the extent of really reading into it, but I'm like literally reading it, came clear. It's like right there, right now. I'm like, OMG. This is so clear. God actually clothed them with skin because they were only flesh. Okay? So, and some type of spirit being. Also, the serpent, for him to be put on his belly and put there for the rest of his life based on one mistake or one deception, and put on the belly for the rest of life. We see serpent, and the first thing we think of serpent, we think of serpents as evil, as basically the devil, right? And that they slither on the ground and they're on their belly. So they tell you anything that's on its belly is lower than yourself. So these are all the things that are coming to me like one by one, and standing out. And I'm like, wow, I never seen this before. So I move on to another section in the Bible of where there's Abraham and Sarah, who, I think it's Abraham and Sarah. Is it Abraham and Rachel? Abraham and Sarah. Abraham and Sarah, where they, Sarah wanted to bear children. And, God tells her, you're going to bear a child, when you're 90 years old or 80 years old, however old it was like tremendously old. So they tell you, you're going to bear a child. So she says, she kind of laughs actually at God, and God gets an attitude about it, But before I even get to Abraham, I need to stop at Noah and the ark. God said during time of Noah that he made a mistake in creating all these people who did not do what was told of them to do. He was tired of it, and he made a mistake. So I saw that in the Bible. I saw that God makes mistakes. I'm like, okay, so we are made in his image because we make mistakes. That's amazing. Like, I'm really excited about that. Like, I know that God can make a mistake, so I don't feel bad when I make a mistake. And to move on, he rallied up Noah, told him, build this ark because I'm getting ready to destroy the entire earth because of this mistake. So he killed every living thing on the earth, wiped it out, and started all over again by Noah having 2 by 2 of every animal on an ark. Now, that had to be a ginormous ark, okay? Ginormous ark, all right? So, now, as time move on, I'm continuing to read, and I'm seeing that after God has now made a mistake, and I'm thinking, I'm relating to this, because I'm like, God make a mistake, I made mistakes, you make mistakes, I'm like, I'm good with that. So I move on. Abraham and Sarah want to have a baby, but then Abraham has a, child with the help, the slave woman. That's what they called them, slave women. I don't know if anybody knew that, but they were slaves. But he had relations with her, had a baby, because he needed his offspring to continue. Bloodline was deep, in the time of the Bible. Bloodline was very important to keep it moving, especially to have a male child was supposedly, quote unquote, how you carry on this legacy of life. Well, Abram is talking with God, having a conversation after Sarah laughed at God when she said she was going to have a baby at 90 years old, right? We always think that's the impossible. We think that the impossible cannot happen. That's testimony to that actually happening, right? Okay, so then Abraham is asleep and God speaks to him and says, Abraham, your people, because descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, so he says, your legacy, your lineage, your people are going to be spread to all four corners of the earth, to places and countries they do not know. And then I was like, what does that mean? So I keep reading. Like, why are they being spread to places they don't know? Maybe it's because, you know how you start making all of this stuff up in your head? Because again, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So you got not only the words you're reading on this paper, but you got all these words because you have this vision in your mind of what it really looks like. So then it says that Abraham, during this time that he was asleep and God was speaking to him, not only is he going to spread the people to countries and places they didn't know, all four corners. Oh, there I am. Okay. I'm back. Sorry, I don't know what happened. It paused on me. But that his people, it said that Abraham's people, these people were going to be enslaved for 400 years and mistreated. I read that once. I read it twice. I read it 3, 4, 5 times, told 1 million people what I just read. Because that's the first time in the Bible I seen anything line up with anything that made any sense to me. And I'm thinking, we are, as a people, as black, melanated skinned people, we have been enslaved for 400 years. Slavery started in 1619. I apologize. 1619. In 2019, it will be 400 years. And it says the first will be last will be first. And I'm like, I'm a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I know that they're Hebrew people, and so was Jesus. So I'm excited. I'm like, I have arrived. I am a Hebrew, and I am an Israelite, because that comes to the story of Moses, where he freed the Israelites from the Pharaoh in Egypt. Pharaoh was, So I'm going to move this along so you can understand. I'm trying to give you this foundation, so I don't want you to kind of get bored with that, what I'm telling you, because, you're probably thinking, I done heard all these stories, but you didn't hear it in the essence of what I'm speaking. I'm speaking to you in some clarity so you can understand that it says Moses freed the people because God said, let thy people go. Okay? So he went to Pharaoh and he demanded this. And it said throughout the whole text in which I was reading, it kept saying all the different things that Moses would do to ask Pharaoh to let his people go. He would do all these tricks and all of these, magical things by turning the staff into a snake and setting a bush on fire and all of this stuff to convince Pharaoh that God really said, let my people go. But it says that God decided to harden his heart and not let the people go, because God put that in his heart to not let the people go, but to have Moses continue on trying to free the people. So it was like God was going against Moses. That's how I was looking at it. I'm like, well, why is he doing that? If he wanted to really let the people go, then he should let the people go. But what is the saying? My understanding is not, not the understanding or something like that. I'm not sure. Forgive me if I'm not quoting it properly. But my God's understanding is not my understanding. I guess that's how it goes. Well, so Pharaoh finally decides to let the people go. So Moses leads them out into the wilderness, where they roam for 40 days and 40 nights, 40 days and 40 nights. Then Moses goes up on the Mount of Olives or Mount Carmel or one of those mountains where God wanted him to create the 10 Commandments. And most people, see, now this is what I'm talking about reading, because most people quote the 10 Commandments as thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbors, those things, right? They say that's the 10 Commandments, but the 10 Commandments created up on Mount Carmel. When Moses came down, God was furious, and he said, your people have tried to build golden calves to reach to me, so they built an image, engraven image. Even though the 10 Commandments wasn't written, this is what was being put in place, and God told Moses, you need to punish them. I mean, you need to take care of your people. Now they're Moses' people. They're not God's people no more. See, he just directed it a whole nother direction. So you got to pay attention. That's what we do. We shift the blame. We shift the blame over when something is not right. When it's not right, we shift the blame and we saying, oh, it's his fault or her fault or their fault. And it's now it's your kids. You know what I'm saying? When your child do something wrong, those your kids. But it's your child too. You gave birth to him, but you tell the husband or the boyfriend or whoever the father is or whatever, those your kids, you need to take care of that. Well, God told Moses, look, you need to take care of your people because they done tried to build a calf up to heaven. And I told you that there's no engraven image that against me. I am not going to tolerate this. So he ordered Moses to kill over 2,000, 3,000 people for building a calf up to heaven. So now after Moses do this, he then goes back to Moses and said, now, Moses was mad and upset. He broke the tablet in which the 10 Commandments was written. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. No engraven image against, shall be made, such and such and such. We all know what the 10 Commandments that we know says. But then there's another 10 Commandments created because he then says, well, since you were so upset, Moses, and you decided to go ahead and kill and break the scroll and break the tablet, you're going to rewrite these 10 Commandments. But this time we're going to make it a little different. Basically, he changed the whole 10 Commandments. 10 Commandments has nothing to do with thou shalt not do any of those things. It's thou shalt not boil a goat. And I'm sorry, I should probably read it, but I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't have my Bible right here at my hand, I don't believe. But you can go and read it for yourself. Go into Exodus, where Moses, after Moses comes down off the Mount Carmel, you can Google it, whatever you want to do. You can do whatever you can find this, okay, yourself. But I'm going to paraphrase it. It says something about do not use goat's milk, baby goat's milk to boil or whatever, and to keep my holidays and my celebrations sacred and things like that. Okay, so this is what the 10 Commandments turned into. So that's what Moses had to rewrite as the 10 Commandments. Now, I don't know how those things actually line up in today's world, but in those days, I guess it was cool. I'm not sure. But moving along, now, so this is as far as I got before I don't even know what to call it. I was seeking, right? So I'm excited about being a Hebrew Israelite because I look, my skin color, I'm melanated. The first shall be last, the last shall be first. I'm very excited about that, I'm thinking that I am a Hebrew Israelite and that, I'm like, hey, Jesus is my brother. That's my boy. That's my boy. That's my brother, right? And then this happened. When you seek, you shall find. The time came where speaking just having conversation. I'm seeking because I'm tapping into, my attitude is that I wasn't going back to church. I was going to get this for myself. I was going to find a church that I could go to in fellowship and that was teaching and that was being part of the movement to help people, like, heal, like, because God gave us the power to heal, deliver us from all those things and teach us. So that's what I'm looking for. So every day I'm online, I'm online listening to morning prayers, and I'm kind of interviewing pastors from a distance, visiting churches, this kind of thing, and then I get invited to a church. When I get invited to this church, which I didn't know, quote unquote, the type of church, but because of what I was on the, the type of post I was putting, they put me in, they saw what I was posting and what I was saying, and they was like, I know and understand what you talking about. So I'm thinking they understand that I'm a Hebrew Israelite, right? And you are too, that we all, this is what we are, So I said, well, I decided to go. Now, I get there, people are very nice and, but I'm confused because, during the time that I'm there, they're saying, Shabbat Shalom, which sounds odd, I'm like, why are they speaking this other, instead of hello, hi, how are you? How you doing? They like Shabbat Shalom, I think I say them right. So, but I was like, okay, but I'm open to understanding. I want to understand I want to understand every religion. I wanted to understand every aspect because I didn't know, well, maybe what I've been thinking all this time might not be what it is, because there's so many things when I was reading the Bible that came up that said that, that was contradictory to what I had envisioned in my mind based on what I had been taught along the way. So I said, well, maybe I missed something. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to sit here and see what they're talking about. Well, it really wasn't my cup of tea because they referred to Jesus as Yeshua and Yahweh. And then they talked about Yom Kippur. And I said, no, this is a Jewish type of thing, right? And we're good for separating things. We're like, they're Jewish, they're Baptist, they're Catholic, they're this, they're that. It's too much division, but I'll come to that in a moment. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, no, I don't do Jewish. Now, it's the reason that I don't do Jewish, because what I do know is that the reason that they say Yeshua and Yahweh, because I stood up and asked the question in the middle of their service, because I needed to understand, because I ain't gonna be nowhere where they worshiping something that, and that your spirit is very vague to be able to receive things that is put into your spirit. So I wasn't going to receive that into my spirit if that was not something that I needed to be hearing. So I got a clarification that Yahweh, Yeshua, all those things were things that were actually done or said because there was no letter J. So Jesus couldn't have been his name. So when they tell you that you need to call God or Jesus by his name, you need to be saying Yeshua or Yahweh. This is what they say. Okay, so we can all agree to disagree. We can all agree to meet people where they're at. Okay, meet people where they're at. Agree to disagree, right? So, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry, guys. Here we go. Okay, so Yahweh and Yeshua is what they were saying. So I wasn't feeling that because what I know about the Jewish people and the Star of David, and is that the Star of David appeared on every side of, on the side of every slave ship. So I had a problem with that because those were the slave ships, and they used that to enslave us. So the Jewish had to something to say or do with that. So I decided, I don't know that I want to be here where, the Jewish people are, or that that's what they're, but it's everybody's preference. And that was my preference. And so as time went on, I decided to leave. And when I left, I ended up running into someone. I didn't run into him, honestly. I went to ask a question because at this point I'm really seeking, and I have not had the opportunity to find what I'm looking for, because I went to this church where I wasn't getting nothing. I didn't get anything except for to find out that they, was like the Jewish type thing, and I wasn't feeling that at all. And so it really wasn't my Hebrew Israelites, I wasn't a Hebrew Israelite there that I thought I was, because of the, what I actually came across when I was reading the Bible, right? So I'm just reading the Bible and understanding what I'm reading, and then I'm seeking, and you shall find all this. I'm just kind of catching those up. Some people just joining in, some people not. So but you're going to have to watch the replay because I can't go back too far. But at the same time, I realized that, I'm just going to keep asking questions, because that's the only way you're going to get your answers. Seeking, you shall find. That's the only way you're going to get answers. So I end up driving down the street, and actually it was me and my best friend. We're riding, and we parked in front of her house, and she sees her neighbor, who she sees all the time. He's dressed in the garb of, looks like Muslim. But, that's like stereotypical. So I don't like to say that, but that's what he looked like, So we decided, we're seeking and finding, and we're looking into everybody and understanding everybody's aspect and their point of views on their religions. We're going to ask this Muslim, because that's what I thought. I thought that I would go and just, check them out. In the process of me doing this, I pull up on him. Matter of fact, he's walking in his house. I pull up on him and say, "Excuse me, can I ask you a question?" He says, "Sure." I explained to whom I am. I actually know him from like a third party. I don't know him directly, but I knew a third party. We knew somebody in common. And I said to him, I said, "Excuse me, I want to ask you a question. What religion are you?" And he said, "I don't have religion." I said, "You're not Muslim?" Because I just made that assumption by the way he was dressed, right? See how we make assumptions? And he was like, "No, I am not Muslim." And he went into a whole lot of detail of a lot of things. And he told me, the first thing he said was, I said, "I know it seems strange that I'm riding down on you, and that's what I asked you about. But I said, I'm just kind of, out here feeling my way, and I just wanted to ask some questions." And he said, "Oh, it is not a odd thing that you came here. People come here all the time." So I said, "Okay. What do you mean people come here all the time?" He says, "People come here all the time." I said, "Okay." Well, he gave me a lot of information. And in that, because where we are today in this time frame, we are researchers. So we're looking for answers. Some of us are just not looking, and it's right in front of our face. And some of us are actually looking for answers. So this is because I want to be able to, based on what I was told, hey, Queen T, based on what I was told, I wanted to be able to manifest my business to another level. I told you, God told me that, without building a relationship with me, how are you going to teach others and coach others, no matter how much experience you have? How are you going to do that without knowing me? So I'm like, Okay, that's what's up. So I was determined to figure this out. So I did some researching. After leaving that young man, without giving in detail what he said to me, I actually did some research. What he did say, what I will share that the young man said to me was that when you leave here, the things that I have said to you, you will have confirmation of these things. And sure enough, I had confirmation of these things. Not just me. It didn't just happen to me. It was two of us there, right? So it didn't just happen to me. In return, the confirmations I was getting was leading me to things that I could see clearly for the first time. And a lot of the things that I've been told over my lifetime, whether it be religious or just like words and things like that, everything is like crystal clear to me now. I not only can see what's truly vision in front of me because I've taken the time to not only just research the things that are just directly in front of me, but to open my eyes, these physical eyes. Because if you know, we have eyes, mamas always say it, in the back of our head. Mama be like, I saw you because I saw them eyes in the back of your head, right? We have eyes internally. Because if you think about it, the things that you envision, understand where I'm going with this, the things that you envision, you don't physically see with these eyes right here. You see them internally, like inside your mind. So let's do an exercise together real quick so you can understand where I'm coming from, okay? Let's do a real quick exercise. And we're going to use orange. An orange, okay? I want you to say orange without moving your mouth and close your eyes. And I want you to, and I'm talking about orange the fruit, okay? So orange the fruit, orange the color, whatever it is. I just want you to close your eyes and say orange. And once you've done that, I want you to comment that you've done it, okay? That you've done that. Now I want to ask you a question. Who just said orange? Did you physically see the orange with these two eyes? And if not, I want someone to explain to me, what did you see? How did you see it? And how did you hear? So I think sound is not what we think it is. Our sight is not a visual sight. And our speaking is not a visual speaking. It says you can speak life and death with your tongue. So what comes out of your mouth actually manifests first on the inside of you. Even though you don't tell your body to get up and walk across the street and pick up the paper, you had the thought that manifests first, but your body automatically did it. You didn't have to tell your body to do it. If you wanted some water and it was a glass of water, you think, I want a glass of water. Then what do? You physically go get the water, but you envision all of that. You see all of those things before they are. Just like when we want our favorite, Thanksgiving coming up. I'm thankful for a lot of things. I'm thankful for where I'm at today. I'm thankful for knowing thyself. I'm thankful for so many things, that my feet has touched the earth and the ground thereof. I'm thankful for all the living things that now have went into hibernation that's going to come out great. I'm thankful for my family and for my friends. I'm thankful for all of you. I'm thankful for my reflection. I'm thankful for all those things. So I just want to acknowledge that right then and right there. But Thanksgiving coming up. So everybody know Thanksgiving, y'all get ready to throw down. Whether y'all, gonna have the full spread, or you going over to Auntie Pee-Pee's house, or John John's house, or, grandma hooking it up, you getting ready to eat. The thing about it is, not only will you be able to visualize the spread, but you visualize the whole interaction of each other. See how that works? You can see it before it happens. So if you can see it before it happens, do you think, and I need you to think on this, okay? Do you think that you can manifest things in the same direction, the same way? My understanding is that you can. You can manifest for you whatever it is that you desire to have in your life. You do this. See, I can't go too deep because I know that people, and I actually said, just accept, okay, I'm going to scratch that because I actually put on the title of this, if I'm not mistaken, it was something like, accept people for who they are, and know thyself. So because you need to know thyself, I have come to know who Noreen is and where I come from. I come to know the whole inner workings of my body, the inner workings of my soul, my spirit, the inner workings. I'm still learning. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a teacher. I'm a student who sometimes teaches. So I guess I can call myself a student teacher. But I just want to express to you that it is worth getting to know yourself and being able to analyze things that you've never realized before. Not knowing that, your makeup, your body, your makeup of your entire being, that you are a spiritual being having a human experience. That's what we all are. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And if you learn to know who you are, no matter what, I'm not talking religion. So please don't attack me with that. Don't put me down with that. I'm not attacking religion. I'm not attacking the Bible. I'm not attacking Jesus. I'm not attacking none of that. What I'm telling you is if we put all these things to the side, remove the religion aspect, remove the God aspect, the external God that ascends into the sky aspect. We remove Jesus aspect. Remove all those things. Some people are going to say, how can you remove Jesus when he's supposed to be your all in all? Remove that. I want you to then focus in, because I'm going to tell you, if God be the creator who says that you're made in his image, would he not, as God being a man, want you to understand who you are? Not who you are as I'm a child of God. Because truly, you are. You are definitely a child of God. And that I can celebrate. We are all a child of God. We all come from a God. Now, my understanding, I apologize, my understanding is that we are not just people who follow behind an external God, but that God is in us. And if anyone disagrees that God is in us, then it's fair to disagree. It's fair. I'm not going to judge you. I've done my research, and I know that God is in me. I have proof that God is in me. And at any time, all the things that this whole makeup of us being spiritual beings, having a human experience, we need to be able to know, not justify that things are as they are, but know that they are. And once you begin to know who you are and know that things are exactly as they are, we're not talking about make a speculation in your mind. Let's not speculate in our minds about what we think it might be. We think, I think it might be, I was told, but I want to know, how much do you actually know for yourself? What do you know for yourself? I personally know who I am. And so right now, I just want to share this too, so that all of you understand. When I told you the story from the very beginning, and I'm getting ready to close out right now because I've been on here too long. I'm trying to do like a 15, 20-minute segment at best, because people don't like to be held up, But when I came on, I told you that I heard a voice from God that said, you need to get to know me as far as the relationship goes. And then you should be able to teach others about relationship. Let's say it one more time and see if we can get it this time. I said that God spoke to me and told me to build a relationship with God so that I can be able to teach others about relationship and share that information with them. So now that I told you the whole story about how I came and I started studying and to find out what I needed to do to get closer to God, I got to a point where God is in me. And the whole gist of this is that I needed to get to know the inner workings of myself. Because if God is in me, that's who I need to have that relationship with. I need to know thyself. I need to know who I am. And the only way that you're going to know who you are is to learn and know thyself. Study and show yourself approved is what the Bible says. So I'm speaking to all the people who reference the Bible in all their ways, who reference the Bible in all their things, who reference the Bible to get their understanding. I am not, like I told you, I'm not going to put down the Bible. I'm not going to talk about Jesus Christ, none of that. Because I have a Christ consciousness that flows within me. My energy and vibration is something totally different because I got to know thyself. I knew that God was in me. So now that I've done my homework, I'm still studying, but I've done my homework. What I want to do for my people